Part 2. I'm doing this a little out of sequence because I lost a bunch of video footage. So obviously there was a lot of stuff done off camera. Let me try to recap really quick. What I did was I shaped the neck and I used a plethora of shaping tools and leveling tools and some calipers and good old-fashioned feel to see how the neck feels in the hand as I'm shaping it. So my next step is to do some rough dry fitting assembly. I still have work to do on the box. I have to put a few more support pieces in there and do a little sanding. I need to put the top back on it, and I need to actually do some measurements on the top and some layout work. And I believe I'm going to put either 1 or 2 F-holes in this, I'm not sure. But I have to actually do some placement positioning for the pickup and do a dry assembly. So sitting around while I'm at it, I have some of this rosewood veneer wood hanging around from a previous guitar project, and it's got nice reflective grain patterns in there. So I'm thinking I may as well go ahead and veneer the headstock. Well, this morning I woke up to this. Okay, are you ready to go out in the snow? Go ahead. How's that snow? All right, it is the next morning after gluing up the neck on this snowy morning, and I have my naughty coffee. So I think I'm safe to take the clamps off. Well, got the hole cut out for my pickup. Unfortunately, that happened. I suppose having it submerged in water in a dog's dish contributed to this disaster. Plan B. Just like that, humbucker. I just finished routing out the hole for my pickup, and I'm going to start working on the F-holes. I'm going to use my scroll saw for that. Okay, so I have basic measurements of my bridge. I have a approximate 3.5 degree angle on the neck itself in relationship to the body. And what I did was, once I had that angle in place, I took measurements with a straight edge and another ruler to get the approximate height that I would need for that bridge. If you remember, I'm using an old pin that went to a hinge for the actual bridge, and this is just a mount for it. A couple of steps I need to do to shape this, and the first job would be to drill the diameter hole that I need in this piece to accept that pin. Once I have that in place, I'll take it to the table saw, do some rough shaping with it, and probably the bandsaw and some other files to kind of shape it. So here we go, let's go. I am marking the locations for the machine heads, the tuning pegs on the headstock, and I'm really taking my time here, making sure that everything makes sense and that I have enough clearance for the strings. This is actually a two-step process for drilling. I have to bore the hole for that size diameter, which I'm going to use a Forstner bit. And there's also a little grommet that goes on the other side, the front of the headstock, that takes a slightly larger drill bit. Now's the time to start planning and drilling my hinge for the saddle, for the strings to go through. All right, that was just a little tease. So that was pretty much just a dry assembly, and I wanted to put it together to see if the thing would make noise. I wanted to make sure that my string height from the fretboard was good. I wanted to make sure that the threaded rod that I'm using for the nut would actually work out. Pleasantly surprised, it does. It has a unique sound to it. So I tore it all apart again, and now I am gonna start finishing it. And here we go. Project would not be complete if I didn't put a little spice on the headstock. It's about that time. I have to get to sanding, and more sanding, and more sanding. But first, the obligatory sanding session. All right, I'm ready to finish. So I have some American walnut stain. I'm gonna lightly coat everything and then wipe off, let it dry, and then spray it with some lacquer. All right, side note. So, post-finishing update. This is where I'm at right now. It took me a bit to get there. The original plan for the mahogany neck was to have an ebony fretboard. I didn't have ebony, so I decided that I was going to use a maple cap with an ebony stain. And I had my concerns about that, particularly the application side of it. Really early on in the project, I decided I'm going to keep the maple natural. And then I decided I'm going to just stain it with the American walnut stain. That did not go very well. It just didn't look good. So what I decided to do midway was to sand it back sand it to 150 grit and apply the ebony stain. That didn't go well. The Cigar Box already has that worn-in look and feel and vibe to it. So that kind of led me into this, where I was kind of forced into now distressing and making the neck look worn in, which actually came out good. So what I did was I took the ebony stain and I kind of sanded that back a little bit, revealing some of the natural wood, and just restained everything with the American walnut. This is what I have working for me right now. So you have some worn-in areas, some missing stain. So it looks like it's been played for a while. So I'm going with that. Let's get back to it. All right, so while the finish is drying on the neck, I am going to focus my attention on the threaded rod, which will serve as my nut. I basically cut the head off a bolt, and now I'm filing one side of it flat, where that's going to sit flush on top of the headstock. And I may do the adjacent side as well that goes up against the fretboard. We'll see how that goes. All right, this is the exciting part that I've been waiting for. I am prepping everything now to spray some semi-gloss spray lacquer. This is made by Minwax. I think probably 3 or 4 coats ought to do it. I'm going to spray the box, the exterior of the box, and the whole neck. And then we'll start doing our final assembly. So I have the first clear coat on, and I'm really digging it. So I will probably wait another 10 minutes The can clearly states 30 minutes between coats, but given the fact that the temperature in here and outside, I'm actually spraying this outside, so I'll probably wait another 10 minutes and then do a light, very light sanding, and then shoot it again with another coat. Okay, time for final assembly. All right, she is getting there. Just finishing up putting some of the top screws into the box, and I just finished grounding the pickup. I just have a few other things to do on it, and I'm gonna put some strings on her. Oh, by the way, if you're interested in my little neck support, I actually made a video on this about 12 years ago. Go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. So, final assembly is complete. And there she is. And I have to say, this project was so much fun. I truly believe that everyone should try building a cigar box guitar. It was a lot of fun, and I will probably be doing another one. Something with frets though, because having a fretless guitar is kind of challenging, I'm finding out. But it's got a unique sound to it. So I'll get it eventually. So one of the takeaways for me was to not be so serious about it. I took it a little bit too seriously, but all in all, at the end of the day, it was a lot of fun, and you can be as creative as you want. So, some highlights. The 221 is probably backwards because I'm using my phone. It actually says 221. Those are just my lucky numbers. The saddle bridge itself, I like that. I have an ebony stain with the same type of American walnut for finish on here. And I think the antique pin worked out well. The string catcher is awesome. I love that idea of using a hinge, and I used bronze screws with a bronze toned button for the the strap. The nut is a threaded rod, and what I'm using to hold the nut in is a piece of, it's like a charm from a bracelet, and I incorporated 2 screws and a piece of leather underneath it, and that basically holds that in place so it doesn't move around, and it works out pretty well, actually. I had an old handle hanging around, so I decided, why not put a handle on it? I'll carry it around. Volume, tone, they work out well. I have some hardware that I painted up and faux finished a little bit on the back to secure the neck to the body. And what else? The tuners I had kicking around. I know probably the stringing is, I strung it up kind of weird, but that was, in my mind, the only way to make the middle string work, so it wouldn't force it to move around in the headstock, but they work out, so it's fine. Again, the tuners are the only, I had these kicking around for so many years, so I used what I had. But I think, it's got a very unique sound. Hold on. So it's got such a unique sound. There's not a lot of volume coming out of this box when you play. I mean, it's pretty unrecognizable that it's something different. It's a Cigar Box guitar. I would highly recommend taking on this project because it was a lot of fun. You can be as creative as you want. You can use the most expensive tools or hand tools. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of fun. I definitely am going to play this, and I already have plans on doing another one in the future. So if you found this interesting, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. And that's it. That's a wrap.